The main push factors now are weak compliance enforcement. So there are a lot of people within that period who owed government taxes, but we were unable to collect it, raising a lot of issues about our ability to mobilize revenue domestically. So we consistently hear that our tax to GDP ratio is low compared to our peers. Then again, we also hear issues about the fact that we were unable to raise enough taxes to finance government projects. But if you look at the Auditor General's report, it gives you cause for concern. There are a lot of people in the system that we know, and these are people we know captured by the Auditor General who owe the government taxes. For example, people owe the government payee that were not paid. People owe the government VAT. People owe the government in terms of even people clearing goods from bonded warehouses without paying the appropriate duties. And all of these come together or culminate to lead to that higher tax irregularities that you see. If you look at the cash, as I've already mentioned, the main drivers were misapplication of funds. People lodging public funds into private accounts. People not paying statutory funds on time. Then in terms of people who collect, or MDAs who collect statutory funds on behalf of government, who did not pay on time. Then also delays in lodgement of funds by even banks, financial institutions who collect monies on behalf of government. So these are the major drivers of the tax and cash regulation. But particularly with the tax in the year, the fact that there are a lot of people who owe us within the country that we are unable to collect within that period, and that delay raises a lot of concern.
That surprising bit as to the switch from the dominant factor being cash to tax is when between 2017, 2018, 2019 the agenda of digitization and digitalization was in force. And so you would expect that all that we've been told over the period is that with digitization and digitalization, we will be able to minimize these things. So how is it that this countermeasure is in force and yet there's an increment in the problem?
So we can have the technology, you bet me technology and a system name, please. But in terms of enforcing it, so there's a difference between identifying the taxpayer and enforcing compliance. Naturally, people are not compliant in paying taxes. Say, Infantibia, or the payee. If government doesn't compel you to pay, there's a likelihood that you may defer the payment. So all the time, the most important thing beyond the technology is the compliance enforcement to ensure that if this tax is due the state this time, we ensure we identify the people and take it, and even when they are delays, they pay the penalties. Consistently, you see even penalties not even applied until the Auditor General raises concern that this tax penalty must be applied. So the main challenge with us is compliance enforcement. And one of the issues too is that sometimes some companies deliberately decide to defer taxes or delay payment of taxes. And because we are not enhancing the compliance enforcement in terms of even applying the sanctions, but penalizing people for delaying.
This is where still I don't get it, because an automated system attempts to remove the human element from the process.
I mean, there's still a lot of challenges with even bringing everybody on board on the TIN system in terms of even the GRA's now online tax filing system. Although these are steps towards enhancing revenue mobilization and compliance enforcement, but it has not been extremely effective as we thought they are going to be. Let me also say that it's also early days yet, because the online system came on board just about last year or last 2 years. So beyond this technology system, our tax officers ensuring enforcement. For example, how come goods are cleared from bonded warehouses without the duty being collected? How come people lift oil from Tema Oil Refinery and the appropriate taxes are not collected? What are the risk mitigation measures or risk calculation measures that were in place when people's debts were deferred and that we knew that they were going to delay payment of these tax debts that they owe the country? So it raised a lot of questions about, one, the compliance enforcement, risk management, and our ability to profile these aged taxes and collect them on time. So we are advancing on the technology, but we also need to work on the integrity issue in terms of people who are mandated to work in these medium tax offices and small taxpayer offices, as well as people who have a responsibility to collect taxes on behalf of government. If we don't enhance the compliance enforcement by applying the sanctions and compelling officers to be effective in collecting these taxes there, the technology will be there, but enforcing the compliance will be extremely difficult.